Good morning, everyone. I feel like we'll have lots of time if there are questions at the end, but if nobody wants to talk about it now, by all means, catch me in the hallway or at the terrace later. Happy to talk about, lots of things Drupal. So my talk today is really about your new MarTech Superpower. And let's start the discussion really with the origin story, which begins with thinking about what are the things that worry marketers leading up to a website launch or a revised website launch. The answer is really going to depend on the individual marketer, the project they're working on, maybe what some of the success criteria are for that website launch. But these are probably three common ones that a lot of marketers are going to care about. So how fast do the pages load within the website? Are there any accessibility issues that need to be addressed for compliance? And from an SEO standpoint, is it going to get maximum visibility on search engines? This is probably a pretty typical web development workflow. So you've got lots of individual developers collaborating, merging all of their different work into a common code base that then gets deployed up to dev stage and eventually production environments. It generally works pretty well, and we see a lot of teams that actually will use that staging environment is where they'll do kind of like UAT and testing. But the challenge is that means you're really identifying problems quite far down in that workflow. And so what that can mean is, actually let me just go back for a second. What that can mean is that sometimes we're not finding some of those problems, and particularly some of those MarTech problems, until kind of right before launch. So, maybe have a show of hands in the audience. Who here has been prepping a site for launch and then just like a week or two before launch found some kind of a big accessibility or SEO problem that you had to scramble, right? I see quite a few hands, right? So we've all been there. It can even be after launch, right? So who's found some of those big issues and then, right? So we've all been there, right? And it doesn't make for a happy team, right? So you've got the site owner is stressed, the devs might have to work overtime, people that already have frayed nerves are probably being pushed even closer to the breaking point. And it's also probably the least efficient way to deal with those problems, right? Because now you've got developers trying to go back and fix code that they haven't looked at in days, weeks, maybe even months, probably being pulled off of other kind of high priority tasks. It's really just not the best way to handle that. But what if we had a better way? What if there was a way that we could fix these problems sooner and at a lower cost? And really that begins with finding those problems as they exist much sooner in the process, maybe even before the code gets merged in. And then if we can fix those before the code is even merged in, then that means that as we deploy that code up through the other environments, we have the confidence of knowing that all of those have been addressed proactively. Makes the team happier. They can all work together in a more sort of collaborative and proactive way. And all of this can be possible. There is a way, thanks to your new MarTech Superpower, which is automated testing. Now, we tend to think of automated testing as something that is more used by sort of security and those kinds of teams to make sure that there aren't any sort of security defects or code quality issues. But using different kinds of tests, we can actually also use automated testing as a way to test for things like performance, accessibility, and SEO. So this is an example of a Lighthouse report, which is something that we can integrate into those automated testing suites. And then that way the marketing teams have the assurance of knowing that they have that early visibility on any problems, and those issues can be addressed right away. We can reject any code commits that are going to introduce a regression in any of these critical areas. And we can also do things like maybe if it's early in the process, we could allow them in, but use something like a webhook to Slack the development team to say, hey, so-and-so just merged this code. We're going to allow it, but it did actually fail for accessibility and a Lighthouse test. So there's an early visibility on that, and that allows the team to fix those issues while the code is still sort of fresh in mind, and that way, when we go to deploy that site to live, at launch, there aren't any of those kinds of surprises that we talked about. a colleague of mine actually did a full write-up of this on the Acquia Dev portal. So if you go into there, the URL is here, but there'll also be a link later on at the end. But in this full write-up that he's done, there's even all of the code that you actually need to integrate a Lighthouse test into your testing pipeline. And so, if you think there's value in integrating this into your workflow, it's all there. You just have to go read through the tutorial he's done and basically just grab the code and start using it. So there's a QR code here, a tiny URL, but also, if you want to talk about it, I'll probably also make the slides available online later. So by all means, I hope you all find it value, and I hope you claim your own new MarTech superpower.